station, Salam Radio, 106.2 FM.
Good evening and welcome to Let's Talk. I'm your host, Akil Khalil, joined by my co-host, Ishfaq. And as always, we are here to delve into the most pressing current affairs shaping our world and local community. Tonight's show brings two very different but equally thought-provoking topics. First, we'll explore the recently approved assisted dying bill in England and Wales, a controversial and deeply personal issue that has sparked debates across the UK. Then, in our second half, we'll turn our focus to Peterborough, where the council's decision to reject mandatory CCTV in taxis has raised important questions about safety and privacy. We are thrilled to have Bilal Nasser from Amar Cabs join us later to share his perspective on this topic. So, let's get started, Ishfaq. Are you ready to dive into tonight's discussions?
You know me, I was always ready.
But you have told me just before we started, you've got a bit of a man flu, yeah?
I've got a man cold today.
He's got a man cold.
I'm,
Okay.
I'm here because I couldn't let your fans down. Your fans, your following.
Oh, that's brilliant. Oh, I don't know how to respond to that. Okay, they're literally all your fans, by the way, not mine. Okay, let's do it. So, the assisted dying bill, approved by MPs for England and Wales, marks a watershed moment in the long-standing debate on end-of-life choices. For those unfamiliar, this bill would allow terminally ill adults to request assistance in ending their own lives, provided they meet stringent legal criteria. It's a decision that's drawn praise for its compassion and criticism for its potential ethical consequences. Now, on one hand, supporters argue it offers dignity and choice to those facing immense suffering. On the other hand, opponents fear it could lead to abuse and undermine the sanctity of life. Ishfaq, before we break down this further, what are your initial thoughts on this landmark vote?
I was always against it, many reasons. For me, morally, ethically, I think it's wrong, and there's long-term consequences from it. It opens us up to a real moral quandary in the future. But I'd say the main thing for me, say from I'm not saying I'm a professional in this or the voice of, but I would say on a faith level, personally, and I'll try and delve into that so people can try and understand our belief system. Say, is that when someone's ill or end of life, illness. We believe that it's a way of almost redemption in our faith.
Yep.
Yeah. We say it's a shafa,
Yep.
a way of shafa. To give you an example, and it brought me a lot of peace when I heard an imam once say, when there was someone suffering from long-term cancer, but it was terminal, and the reassurance he gave them is, the pain and suffering this person was going through. We believe as Muslims that this world, this life is short compared to eternal life in the hereafter. So this short-term life, the pain and suffering we may have to endure here, is a way of shedding, say, our bad deeds, or in a way of gaining forgiveness and mercy in the hereafter. And some scholars will tell you about the story of Hazrat Yusuf al-Islam. As I said, I'm not an imam. We're not going to start going into religious, stories, but that brings me a lot of solace. So I would say, I've witnessed it myself with loved ones, from my grandparents. People do endure, and it's not easy sometimes to see that. Yes, but everyone has their own level of what they can and cannot endure, and it's more. I would say it's more difficult for the relatives than maybe the person. But should we be making that choice of when? As Muslims, we believe that our time is already ordained for us as well.
Yeah, and the fact that we don't have any control over when we're born and when we're going to die.
Yeah.
Just want to also just add one more element just to what you just said there, Ishfaq, as well. I actually remember it was a teacher of mine for over 30 years, Sufi, and in the last 5 years of their life, their health deteriorated a lot. And in the last year before they passed away as well, their health was so poor, yet they continued to pray and do all these things. And all of us in the room could visibly see that they were in pain, They were struggling. This was a person who was fit, used to work on the railways, do all this stuff, but now struggling to walk, struggling to sit, all these things. But all of us were also at peace knowing, this is that shedding that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
This is that cleansing process taking place. And so for us, as you mentioned, that divine, religious, faith-based element. And it's the only, I don't know about you, but personally myself, and I think you'll agree with me, it's the only lens I see it in.
Yeah. Well, it's the only, it's not that we're wearing goggles,
Yeah.
that we're not prepared to understand other people's
Opinions.
views or opinions.
That's right.
So definitely, look, I would say, always say to people, and we always say in this show, if you have a different opinion, please share it with us. If you don't agree with us, please call us, message us, and tell us.
You're right. And public opinion, polls indicate growing public support for assisted dying. Some suggest over 70% of the population backs it. Now, why do you think public attitudes have shifted so significantly in recent years? I've got a theory, but I want to hear yours.
I will tell you something, and I'm going to come on to this because there's some notes I made earlier today, and I just want to say, so 29 faith leaders signed a letter saying to, the powers that be, that they were deeply concerned about the impact the bill would have on the most vulnerable in society. It opens up the possibility of life-threatening abuse and coercion, right? So to answer to your question, why is it different now? One of the, I think it was a priest, higher priest, sort of said something along the lines, or was questioned whether Britain is losing. And I made a note of this question as well, which I want to ask you: is Britain, known as a Christian country, moving away from those Christian values? That's a whole different show. Okay.
Which we're definitely going to do.
Which we'll have to do.
But to answer your question, yes. I think we live in a largely secular state, and that is shown time and time again when there are key decisions that need to be made based on new legislation and or things that happen in the country, and you find yourself, because look, what did we say? We were like, our faith, because we believe in this faith. We wouldn't do this because of these reasons. But time and time again, what do we see? We see people of other faiths, certainly in Christianity as well, that the bar gets moved a little bit here or a little bit there to accommodate the strength of feeling within the country. And so, which is fine, that's okay. But to answer your question, most definitely, I feel like the UK is moving away from Christianity.
I think, and then again, this is another sideshow we could talk about, because the stake for Muslims and the stake for Islam, is set in the ground. This is our rules. This is what we believe, and there's no budging from that, because we believe it's God ordained rules, and that is what we follow,
and it's
we
sacred.
stick by, right?
Yeah.
So we see that as sacred law. End of story.
Yeah.
And some faiths are prepared to move those boundaries because of the way the world is perceived, the way the world has moved on in the last 10 years, say.
Yes.
So that's where people say, maybe because we've stuck our stake in the ground and we're holding fast to that, that we're not prepared to move with the times.
Yeah.
But time and time again, it's proven to me, I'm of the same age of many other people and with the same sort of mindsets and many other things. So it's not like we're stuck in the past. Islam for me shows and proves that, whenever it comes to stuff like this, I've always found myself that I'm comfortable. I sleep easy at night because I'm comfortable with those decisions, and they're made easy for me by my beliefs.
Yeah.
So it's not like I'm being left behind. Those beliefs are the same today. They'll be the same in 10, 20 years, and they will be the same my granddad had 20, 50 years ago. They don't change. They don't need to change, because that's the beauty of Islam, that it transcends through time, and those same rules will apply whenever you look at them.
Yep.
But going back to the assisted dying, we've kind of touched on why it's against our beliefs, and religiously, yes, definitely, I would be against it. For me, even if it wasn't for that, I struggle with it. The one thing I did want to also touch up on is I was looking at the votes, and I sat, before we came to the show, I was sort of doing the calculations, and I try not to make it political, okay? I try my best not to, but there's that little thing inside me that just doesn't, go away. So I was looking at the votes and looking at the vote share and the percentage. So looking at how the MPs voted, and I'll tell you what, before I go on to that, I want to congratulate or say well done to our MP for this side of Peterborough, Andrew Pakes. I've not always agreed with him. I don't always agree with him. But on this, he voted against the bill. The other MP from across the river for Peterborough, the accidental MP, sometimes I call him, voted for it, for assisted dying. So to Andrew Pakes, I'd say well done. I commend him for voting for what I thought was morally the correct thing to do. But on that, so he was one of 148 Labour MPs who didn't vote for it, but there's 236 that did. So 20% of Conservative MPs voted for assisted dying. 100% of all the Greens, which is only 4 of the MPs, but 100% of the Greens voted for assisted dying. Independents, which wasn't a surprise to me, 6% voted for.
Okay.
So 1 out of 14, but 6%. Yeah. Labour, 61% voted for. Okay. And this is the other thing. Don't laugh this time, because you had this thing when I mentioned on a different topic. Liberals, 84%. I knew you were going to... I'm not trying to set you off.
What were you saying? Oh, yeah.
84% of Liberals
84%,
voted in favour of assisted dying.
Yeah.
Well, it's not really a shock. But.
I mean, ethically, there are concerns, right? Critics argue that this bill creates a slippery slope. I mean, for example, this could lead to pressure on vulnerable individuals to end their lives prematurely. Or it could be a situation where family members are, make that person feel like, well, you're going to be a burden on us. There's going to be no actual guard around that. That's just the dynamics within people's families.
Let's put it this way. It's an ancient truth that, medicine should always heal and never harm. Ancient truth, that is. We've always believed, followed that. But with this, medicine should save lives, not take them. That's my
I agree
standard.
with you. But my response to that is, look, assisted dying is already legal in countries like Canada, Belgium, and Switzerland. But are there lessons that we can learn from their experiences that we could use here? Because think what's happening out at the moment. People are flying to countries like Switzerland, aren't they, to end their lives. Is there anything that you're in this arena, Ishfaq? I am not. Is there anything has there been an argument or a situation where you felt, okay, taking your faith hat off, which is not easy, but if you could, have you come across anyone or an organisation or a party member or someone who said something about those experiences abroad that could potentially make this more viable here? I mean, look, they've already voted in, but it's the second reading.
Second reading,
sorry.
Right? So it has been voted, but there is other things now. So now they tweak it, and I'm hoping during the tweaking process, they cover a lot of the bases which protect people from that coercion.
Yeah, true. But I'll tell you what my personal concern was. Okay, it was that you needed a doctor to sign the document before it went to a judge, but this bill in its second reading didn't stipulate the type of doctor. It could have been anyone, a pathologist, a junior doctor, a consultant, whatever it was, as long as they were a doctor. It wasn't even specified on there. And then the other element, which I found really, really troubling, it was that the death certificate, it will not mention the names of the people who helped craft that decision.
Again,
so where's the accountability?
Yeah, there is a concern. I'll tell you, one of my concerns with this is that in 10 or 15 years' time, this starts happening, 10, 15, 20 years' time, people realise, well, actually, that was a bit of a mistake, because guess what? These deaths should never have happened, or this number of deaths happened without any real due care, attention, or checks in a way. So I don't know. You look into the future. I'm looking into the future and saying this could go wrong. the way society is going at the moment, we've already talked about how it feels like we're kind of moving away from religious values, whether that be Islamic, Christian, Jewish, whatever. But faith is, in a way, it's almost like there's an active system at play to try and diminish faith or the values of, or to make it look not as important, or, as I said, old school. And if that carries on, with that will go, next will be family values. We've talked in the past about how, LGBT education, etc., was being pushed within schools, and how that went against many faith groups. This is almost another step, and then you've got children, the way that they are being brought up in these times. And I was talking to someone the other day, it doesn't matter whether they're Muslim, non-Muslim, whatever background they're from, every single parent you speak to nowadays will tell you, and it'll be like almost like a roadmap they could draw you, and everyone will say snap, because children not having those same respect or values as what we were brought up with, and no matter how much you try to instill those, it just isn't happening because of the way the world has become when it comes to social media, when it comes to kids using iPads and all that kind of stuff. Technology nowadays, it's sort of diminished the family values. The next step to that is, hold on, if you don't have that same respect for your parents or the same values in 20 years time as what we had, say, 20 years ago, will it be easier for them to say, you know what, we haven't got that link? We don't sit with our parents. Tell me, I would challenge any parent to phone me up to the studio today and say, you know what, we never have iPads or phones at the dinner table. We all sit there and actively have a conversation. There might be 1% that can say that out of 100 in Peterborough. Yep. And what happens with that, we're diminishing our sort of family values, those links, that understanding, the education that we used to get from our elders. And then the next step from that in 20 years' time, like I'm saying to you, could be that those kids find it a lot easier to press the button that says, switch it off, or, sign that. We're busy with work, we're busy with life. I'll give you a story I told someone today. My grandmother, bless her, when she was alive, she passed away 4 years ago, and I used to go and see her as much as I could. Very pious lady, my mum's mum, and she would sit at home, and in her late, sort of last few months before she passed away, I'd go in and see her, and I was the oldest grandchild, so we had a close and good connection, and she'd always laugh and joke with me. And one thing she said is, because I was always busy with work and doing other stuff and council stuff, she'd say, you don't find the time to come and see me on a regular basis. Once a week isn't enough. But when I pass away, because I'll be buried at Eastfield Road, which is not far from where you live and on the way to work, will you come and see me then?
Wow.
Or will you see more of me then?
Wow.
Right? So what I'm saying is, look, even now in this lifestyle, we're all busy. We don't spend as much time as we should with our elders. In another 20 years, you can forget about it. I don't expect my children to treat me the way I, say, treated my parents. That's diminishing. And as that happens, these sort of things are even more riskier in my mind. And the checkpoints and will diminish, and it will be easier to switch the button off. That's what I'm concerned about.
I think you make a really valid point, Ishfaq. Genuinely. I think this is right across the spectrum. There's people, faith or no faith, people are asking themselves those questions about whether or not their loved ones are going to check in on them or see them or visit their graves. All these things, you're right, they all come into play. And then on top of that, you have the situation where, just putting this out there, because this is I spoke to somebody recently as well, and they said to me, what if you are worth a lot of money? What if you have a lot of wealth and this is destined to go to somewhere and you do fall ill and you can't make decisions for yourself, so you do do the power of attorney and so on, and people are becoming patient. What happens then? And I was like, yeah, you make a good point. But then the flip side of it is, there are other people out there who are saying, actually, when I cannot make a decision for myself, I've entrusted you to make that decision for me. and then go through this process where a doctor, then 2 judges confirm that I've got less than 6 months to live, and I want to go on my own terms. There are people, one of the things that I gleaned from research and talking to people is that people don't want to have a painful death, right? They don't want to have a painful death, and because of that reason, they or they're not looking forward to being in a situation where they are dependent on anyone.
There's something we've missed in all of this as well. I've seen people in my lifetime who have been on the precipice of death, you could say. Literally, the doctors said, that's it, tomorrow, it's then game over. Any day now. Day now. Perfect. I'm sorry to go back to my family, but I'll give you an example. My granddad, my mum's dad, was at home very ill, and I got called in. I remember all the family got called in because guess what? This is it. It's his last day, so he wants make sure the family's all there. We're all there praying and being dutiful. A couple of days went past, and he was okay. He slowly started recovering. He was in pain initially, but he started recovering after a couple of days. He was unconscious the first 2 days. Now, in those first 2 days, if he was unconscious and we went, well, actually, you know what? When he gets up, he's always groaning and complaining of pain. So let's just press the button and make it easy on him, right? After that, he lived for another 3 years.
Wow.
He went and he started to get a little bit better. He went and travelled and went to Saudi Arabia on a mini pilgrimage. He went on Umrah. And he was fine. He was walking himself, performed all the rituals himself. Back to health. You'd think he was back to 20 years younger. And it took him 3 years after that to fall back ill. And I remember it was close to New Year's Eve, I still remember now. And we got called again to say, look, this is it. And I had this feeling it might be like 3 years ago. So what I'm trying to say is, how do we know? And not only can people recover, but also what about advances in medicine and technology?
Right. Absolutely.
What about the day you inject them, 2 days later, there's actually the miracle cure that comes out?
Yeah, it's true.
Because medical advancement at the moment is next level, So would you want to know that you've pressed a button or had someone injected or, assisted someone to die, and 2 days later or a week or a month later, the cure for that illness has come out, or to make it a lot better, like palliative care, not palliative care, sorry, but where you there's actually cures or remedies for those side effects or ailments. So then would you want to be living with that, questioning yourself whether you did the right thing?
Yeah, but some might say what they did instead was they showed mercy on that person who was suffering so much. There was so much pain. There was no dignity left. That person themselves was crying out, look, let me just end this. I can't cope anymore. It's such an emotive subject, this is. And just listening to what you're saying there as well, I know from doing this research where people have been told they've got 6 months to live, they've outlived those 6 months. And some of these people have tried to then sue the trusts because they would have, some of them sold off some of their assets and things, and now they're chasing it. So ultimately, and this is a fact of life, no one can tell you exactly when you're going to die.
Yeah. Well, there was something I wanted to touch on there, and it's I'm having a brain freeze, which is never something good on the radio.
No, but it's unusual for you.
It is very unusual. I think it's to do with the man flu.
Oh, okay.
No, it's to do with basically where we're talking about people recovering and the choices, the right decisions, the medication. There's so much more to it that I think we're looking at the easy steps. And sorry, you were talking about people suffering and illness and pain, but there's so many cures and remedies at the moment, or so many painkillers that maybe you don't want to keep someone in a what's the word,
vegetative state.
Yeah, that would be a concern. I appreciate, but when people are okay and they can manage their pain, then is it the right thing to switch the machine off? Or
I think that's obviously different. It's a tough situation. I take on board what you say. What do you think? Let us know. You can text us on 07411 191062. You can comment on the live stream, Facebook, YouTube, X or Twitch. It's a very emotive subject. Perhaps it's something that you've dealt with yourself or you know of someone. Do let us know. Love to hear from you. You're right. So we've gone through the second reading and then it's going to go to they're going to try and amend it and then it'll go through its then we'll see what comes back to the Commons is what you're saying, right?
Basically.
Okay. So clearly this bill raises profound moral, legal and personal questions. Whether it becomes law or not, the debate will shape our understanding of compassion, autonomy and the value of life itself. Now, coming up, we shift gears literally to a more local issue, but one that's no less impactful for those it affects. Peterborough City Council has rejected plans to make CCTV mandatory in taxis, a decision that has affected and divided the community. And to help unpack this, we will be joined by Bilal Nasir, a representative of Amar Cabs. So do stay tuned after this short ad break. I'm sure Ishfaq's going to quickly sort himself out as well. But we'll see you on the other side of this advert.
Stay tuned to Salam Radio after this short ad break.
It's time to protect yourself against COVID-19 and the flu. If you or a family member are eligible for a vaccine this winter, then you can easily book an appointment or find a walk-in clinic online. And even if you've had a COVID-19 or flu vaccine previously, whether it was just a single jab to regular boosters, it's still important to stay fully protected. To find out more, search online for COVID and flu vaccines Peterborough.
Bite into something wonderfully tasty at Big Mouth, 349 Lincoln Road in Peterborough. Eating in for takeaway or delivery. Big Mouth now have a delicious new menu full of all your favourites. Crispy fried chicken, juicy smashed burgers, finger-licking peri-peri chicken, handmade pizzas, quality doner meat and so much more. So visit the family-friendly Big Mouth restaurant for fantastically fresh food. Call 01733 201020 or visit getbigmouthonline.com.
Are you a savvy shopper searching for the best food deals? Look no further. Adams Cash and Carry can help you save big. We're not just a food wholesaler for takeaways and restaurants. We also welcome household customers at our warehouse in Westwood, Peterborough. Visit our website and enjoy wholesale prices on everything from drinks to flour, rice to burgers and much more. To shop, go online and collect in store. Visit adamscashandcarry.co.uk today to start your savings spree.
Satisfy your cravings at Ibrahimi Buffet Restaurant. Enjoy a tantalising variety of Chinese, Italian, Pakistani and comfort food favourites, from starters to desserts. Kids under 5 dine for free, so bring the whole family to our restaurant at 63 Sycamore Avenue. Open every day from 5pm to 10:30pm. Call us on 01733 313131 or book online to reserve your table. Ibrahimi-restaurant.co.uk. Every bite is a delight at Ibrahimi Buffet Restaurant.
Where can you get high quality and low prices? Amar Food Store and Halal Meat in Lincoln Road Triangle is the place to go. Pay us a visit and take advantage of our special offers and great range of products on groceries, vegetables, fruits and halal meat. Also send money to Pakistan absolutely free. We have all top brands at special offers, offer free customer parking and provide a free local delivery service. Amar Food Store and Halal Meat, 613B Lincoln Road, Peterborough. Call us on 01733 687 374. High in quality, low in prices.
Masterminds Tuition Academy is for your high schoolers, your something to provers, your subject strugglers and keen learners, your brave jumpers and fist pumpers. Affordable personalised learning plans are delivered through our centres in schools across Peterborough. But not to worry, we also provide online and home visits with flexible timings. Whether it is maths, English, science or 11+, Masterminds is a must. Find us on all socials and visit our website mastermindstuitionacademy.com or call us on 07516 166 003. Masterminds, master the matrix.
Do you own a restaurant or takeaway? Cater Fair is an expert supplier of new and used commercial catering equipment. Visit caterfair.co.uk for quality equipment on sale at the lowest prices. Or call us on 01733 310 115 or visit us at 11 Royce Road, Fengate, Peterborough.
Peterborough's community radio station, Salam Radio, 106.2 FM.
Welcome back to Let's Talk. Now, let's turn our attention to Peterborough, where the local council recently voted against proposals to mandate CCTV in taxis. Proponents of the measure argue it would enhance passenger and driver safety, while critics raise concerns about costs, privacy and practical implementation. Now, to help us explore this further, I'm delighted to welcome our guest, CEO of Amar Cabs, Bilal Nasir. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
Thank you for joining us. Really, really appreciate you being here. This follows on from a special show that I did on Tuesday, where we had the Peterborough Private Hire Association in here as well to express their thoughts and feelings. And since then, there was a vote on Wednesday. Am I right? The vote went against. So, Bilal, let's start with your reaction to the council decision. Were you surprised by the outcome?
Yes, I was surprised. Basically, the CCTV is important for safety. And also, like, for example, I was hearing few comments like you have to take your family with you. If there's an incident happen, it doesn't matter, it's a family, it's a customer. It protects you from accidents. Then they were saying premium can go up if there's CCTV. That's totally baseless. Premium goes down if you have a CCTV camera installed. There will be less allegations against you. For example, if there's any allegation, any customer make school runs and anything happened, if you have a CCTV footage, you can get that done very clearly. You can send to the council and you don't have to wait months to get your justification for you, like to justice for yourself. So these were important. I think they totally ignore these things.
The council?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And Ishfaq, someone who's been in the council, what was your initial reaction by the decision by the council?
I'm going to say, look, I have a lot of respect for Amir and what they do in their business, but I think I'm on a different footing, and I have to disagree slightly with them on this. And I think the council, or the councillors, made the right decision initially. And the reason I say that, and look, there will always be two trains of thought in this show. That's what we always have.
Yeah.
Okay. And for me, it wasn't about the points that have been raised here. I mean, I'll touch on some of them, but for me, it was almost the council where it was, chicken and egg, in the sense of they were trying to mandate something which should really be done for me, on a national level, so that everyone across the board does it. Every city does it, every council does it, because otherwise it was a two-tier system. Mm-hmm. And that for me was unfair, because what you would then do is you would push drivers to go register elsewhere, to then work in the city.
And then also not have the cameras.
The idea of cameras for me, for safety or for the long term, I mean, look, there was also mentioned that how many jobs are actually done and how many incidents. The percentage is minimal. When I say minimal, I mean below 0.001 whatever percent it was. So you have to question whether there is a need. But long term, as Bilal said, about having cameras, say, for your own protection, or if there was a concern, then that can be quashed very quickly,
this is true,
rather than waiting for. I get that, but the thing is, it's the way in which they were trying to implement it, I think, was wrong. So I'm not disagreeing that cameras, wherever there's a camera, there will always be, it'll work as a deterrent.
Yeah, that's right. So taking that on, does Amar Cabs currently have, or do your cabs currently have CCTV in them?
Yes, we already started implementing on our company cars.
And how did your drivers feel about that?
They feel safe about it, very good about it.
Excellent.
they feel that there will be less allegations against them.
Okay, and what type of feedback has your do you that you're either aware of, or has your drivers given to you about the cameras from customers in your cars?
Yes, customers feel more safe.
Yeah, so it's interesting because Ishfaq, you know, when I was doing after that show, I had quite a lot of messages that came in from people who were saying, actually, no, I would feel safer with cameras in the cars. Now, I know from speaking to that team that day that there's a cost involved, which your business clearly has
we paying for the driver.
Absorbed it.
Yeah.
Okay. That was one of their concerns, which was that the financial element. They wanted the city council to pay for it. And again, going back to what Ishfaq was saying, this not being a national requirement, I think it's going to come.
When it comes, yes.
I think it's coming. I think it's going across councils at the moment. But I don't know. Do you think within the next 3 to 5 years it will be national?
One of the councillors in the meeting mentioned how it was supposed to be implemented or by councils, and the government expected councils to implement this. But then hold on, if that's the case and it's supposed to be implemented, why only Peterborough?
Yeah.
You know, that's the question. Why are Peterborough only trying to make it mandatory, whereas the other ones are delaying it? So why don't you wait until all the other councils implement it or start doing that? And then, I'm sure the drivers will say, look, if everyone else is doing it, we're going to do the same. We don't have a choice. And I'm sure those drivers will tell you the same thing in Peterborough, that they wouldn't have an issue with it if it was a national thing. If everyone was doing it, fine, it's the way it is, and they'll follow line. But when you're talking about feeling safer, or customers saying they feel safer with a camera there, when the level of incidents in Peterborough for complaints is non-existent, and some of those complaints are actually from drivers rather than passengers, then what are they feeling safe from? Is it the driver? What are their concerns? Is it the type of driver, the cast of colour of a driver? What would their concern be? So look, I'm not discounting what he's by saying. Was that? Sorry, I'm not discounting what he's saying. People will always have a different opinion. I just think at the moment, for me, I would say that the right decision was made yesterday, but definitely in the long term, cameras will be coming. Now, if Amar Cabs have already implemented that, they'll be ahead of the game, and if customers feel like they will feel safer with cameras in vehicles, if their cabs have already, or taxis have already got cameras in there, those customers, then know where to go.
Yeah, this is true.
So just a choice.
Sorry, do you want to come back to that?
Yeah, there's one point about the cameras, the cost is that I think companies and the council should have bear, because this was the point where council was not very clear how to handle this thing.
Okay.
And that should have been more clear.
Okay.
And second, there shouldn't be pick and choose. That's right. At least should be in the Cambridgeshire, whole Cambridgeshire should have done it.
Yeah.
Then at least there will be no cross-border issues.
That's a good point.
That makes sense. That makes sense. This is the point. Look, it's not about we want CCTV. We want it. But the way it was going on, pick and choose, that was wrong. And the cost, for example, the cost is less than £200 for the cameras. And all these figures was coming up £800. That was totally baseless.
Okay, just talk me through it. Don't give me the manufacturer.
No.
But describe your system to me. You got a camera in the front of the car?
In front of car and the inside. Same camera. There's two cameras.
Okay.
Front and back. And covers inside and outside both.
And then you have a local hard drive in the car?
No, we don't have local hard drive. It's all on the cloud system. And
that's good.
And we have the policy. After 48 hours, all the footage will be deleted automatically.
So bear with me a second. So if you have a cloud system, do you have to have a mobile data SIM in there as well?
Yes.
Okay. So yours is actually completely different to when I was doing some research where people were saying you'd have two cameras inside the car plus a hard drive. That hard drive would then be uploaded. So yours is a lot more advanced than I expected it to be.
I'll tell you what, although you're saying that, 2 days of recording may not be enough, and this is what the council was saying, what they wanted was something that records for 30 days, I think.
Okay,
storage.
So let me work that out. So I can tell you now, 40 days of continuous recording is approximately 4 terabytes of data.
Yeah.
I do the tech factor.
Well, there you go. So if that's the case, you're better off having a internal hard drive within the vehicle.
Like a Tesla.
Basically, that kind of thing. But that's, like I said later on, the one thing that Amrabai did say, he mentioned about the council, if there was a complaint, you can go in straight away. Brother, you know as well as me, it's not always as straightforward as go in straight away and they'll do it.
Yeah.
Some of this stuff can take, a couple of days, couple of weeks.
The admin work can take time, but the allegations and the proving it, that kind of stuff.
See, this is a good point.
Yeah.
This is a good point. You having that, okay, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, which is, the way that People City Council went about it, they could have done this, should have done this differently.
Better.
Yes.
Yeah. They could have done better.
But I have to take Brother Bilal's point on. This is a good point. If you are a driver, you're in a working environment, and you have someone, I also take on what you said, issue, which is that the complaints are low. I'm just thinking further ahead of time now. You're in a situation, you have a car accident. That would help you straight away.
Yeah.
If you have an incident where you're at traffic lights you've gone through and someone's making an accusation about something, it'll help you straight away. So I can see it from that perspective. I could totally see it from a driver's perspective.
As a Tesla driver.
Yeah. Right. But the question to you, Bilal, is this. During my last show, when we were speaking about this, that team mentioned that the cameras have to be recording all the time, and because of that, they lose privacy with their loved ones in their car. How do you feel about that?
Okay. If the footage get deleted in 48 hours automatically, it means these cameras are not for the live recording wedding cameras, okay? It's not recording live all the time. If there's incident happened, you need recording for that. And that recording you can keep it. You don't have to have all the time,
So what you're saying is you don't need to upload the 48 hours. You're just going to upload that specific
incident 1 minute.
Yeah.
That 60-second video you can upload and you can give to the council, wherever you want to give it. You don't have to give full footage.
And during this process of you buying your cameras, did they make you aware of the type of cameras you needed?
Yes.
Did they also give you a requirement on the type of storage and how it should work?
Yes, because this is what we want as well. We don't want hard drive.
You want to be standardized, yeah.
Yeah, we don't want hard drive in the car, because if there is any incident happen, somebody take the hard drive.
That's right.
What's the point to have cameras?
I totally agree with you. It should be cloud based. I do agree with that.
The only thing I would say to you there is, at the moment, the system that the council were requesting, this system that you've implemented wouldn't be sufficient and wouldn't be accepted by the council for licensing. So, and if that had gone through yesterday, then your system, you would either have to change the whole thing
to what?
To one that's got a hard drive within the car.
So we're going back to hard drive here.
So what I'm trying to say to you,
you can get the data 30 days storage from the same company on the cloud.
But let's talk about the requirement from the council.
So what I'm saying, yes, you can do that. At the moment, and this is where we keep saying about how the council got this wrong.
Yeah, so the fact that both of you are saying it like this shows you the mixed messages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the council had stipulated in there, what they were mandating and how they wanted the system to work. So it was a sealed hard drive that no one could access or tamper with, where they wanted to be able to access this information themselves, so that it's not like a driver can get into it and delete it or edit bits and not, so it was just for the council. So you'd have to drive in, so they would have access to that whole 30 days.
I find that very problematic.
You can't control that you're only going to send them 1 minute. They're going to have access to the whole 30 days prior or to whenever you take that in.
See, so let me just make sure I understand this right. Okay, so Bilal's system, you have control. Okay? Yes. But what Ishfaq has just described, you don't have control. Because the whole 30 days then gets uploaded or shared. And that's an invasion of privacy, don't you think?
This is what the drivers were kicking off about, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's the point. For example, if there's a 30 days footage you wanted, the council didn't explain accordingly, what exactly they want to do it.
Yeah.
The company we went, it's not that they're specialized in taxi.
Mm-hmm.
TfL approved them.
Yeah.
And a lot of other councils that they approved them.
Okay.
And even they have some sort of approval from Peterborough City Council, approval or discussion, whatever, they made the system like this. Because they've tried to fulfill for every council requirement. So they're trying their best to come up with all the legislation. One point she was saying, If the all UK is the same rule, that will be a lot better for all consuls, drivers.
Yeah.
And we should do that. It's not we shouldn't stop that because it's not going to happen. Like if there's a 30 days video, 2 days video, whatever driving hours you needed, it should have been done. It should have been, like equal for everyone. If somebody's coming from cross-border trading, they should have the same system. If my company have a CCTV, Mark has the CCTV, but the other somebody's coming from Cambridgeshire doesn't have the CCTV, an incident happened, then consul just can't do anything about it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, that makes sense.
So, to be honest with you, you're kind of saying the same thing that the association was saying. The fact that your company has implemented cameras, the issue is at the moment, look, they won't work under what the council guidelines were, but we're all saying the same thing. Luckily, it didn't go through, in my mind, because look, there was so many things wrong, and there was a flop in that system.
I'm sure they will review and they will come back with something better that everybody.
If they come back, in my mind, if they came back with a cloud-based system that with cheaper cameras where it's only £200, I can't see any reason why drivers would say, you know what, not a problem.
Okay,
but they can control it.
We're joined now on air. We have a caller. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Can I take your name, please?
Councillor Zamir Ali.
Oh, Councillor Zamir, how are you?
Oh, wonderful. I'm listening to your show, and I want to just clarify a few points.
Sure.
The main reason of, I understand what Bilal's point is when it comes to, but his system, it would not be sufficient, as Ishi's pointed out, to the specification of what is required by the council. The initial amount, it's not bizarre because the amount of what it's going to cost, because we know that we can get CCTV for a lot cheaper. It is their estimations and requirements that build it up to the £400 to £800. Your system also doesn't have the emergency mic recordings, and also doesn't cut off. It also doesn't have automated start-stop when your vehicle is on or off. There's a number of issues in regards to what is with your system, and it wouldn't be completely compatible. Your recordings for 2 days would not be compatible. You've got access to them. That wouldn't be compatible. So at the end of the day, the voluntary option was always on the table. It has always been on the table. If drivers choose to do it voluntarily, that's absolutely fine. But do remember that there are certain regulations that you need to follow as well to be able to have that voluntary system as well. Be registered the ICO, have certain stickers up in the vehicle. I completely understand. And I applaud people that have the system, that they want the system to protect themselves. But the point that we were fighting wasn't about the CCTVs. It's about the mandatory and the way, the methodology they were using to bring them in.
Yeah, absolutely. And post our show, while we've got you on the phone tonight, just give us your reaction to the decision.
Absolutely brilliant. I did not expect that many councillors to back us, but common sense has availed for the simple reason it was. I didn't get to vote, unfortunately. Like I said, I've got conflict of interest.
Yes.
But from speaking to the other councillors and what they've said, it just did not make sense where cross-border, Amaris, Bilal has said whole of Cambridgeshire could have it. But Huntingdon's on the side, Lincolnshire's on the side, South Kensington, South Holland, Fenlands is on the side. So whether Cambridgeshire had it, it wouldn't matter because the rest of the counties around us wouldn't have it, and we can easily go and get licensings from that. But no, I think common sense availed. I did not expect 37 councillors to vote for it. I was expecting a closer run. But yes, no, I was very, very happy, and I think all the communities, whether you're from the Labour Party, the Conservatives, the First Lot, and the Greens, and those independents like Kirsty Knight, and so on and so forth, absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much, and we appreciate your backing because common sense availed.
Thank you, Zamir. Really appreciate your call.
No worries. Thank you very much.
Okay, so interesting points there by Brother Zamir there as well. He's obviously happy. What would you like to respond, Brother Bilal?
Okay, basically, he should have a little bit more common sense, to be honest. He doesn't know what my system does, what kind of system I have, and I have ICU or not. I'm not like somebody who doesn't know the system, know the rules. We follow all the rules and everything. Maybe his common sense doesn't work at that point. He thinks he has the only common sense at the moment, but he should have a bit more to understand. He should have come to me. I'll show you him what our system does. How does it work? How does the mic system work? And everything is there.
I'm sure you guys can arrange that.
On the problem is we just cannot satisfy it. And to be honest, I would say to jealous people, stay away from us. Let us just keep on sideline and watch us growing.
Okay, fair enough. The only thing I'm going to say is it just this topic has. As listening to yourself, listening to Zamir and the team, and also speaking to certain councillors, doing a bit of research, I think ultimately where this really goes to is the city council did not communicate this well. Yes. They hadn't thought about this themselves clearly.
The
mixed messages.
The mix up CCTV with this, the two separate things, how it should be implemented, and the implementation should be better.
There's an easier system, but one thing I will say is, Zamir's not here to respond, and I will say one thing in his defence is that the system, he didn't say that, I said that, which was that the system that you have going by council guidelines wouldn't be sufficient for what had this rule gone through yesterday, then you would have had to change the system. That's all I think what I was trying to say, and I think that's probably along the lines of what Zamir was trying to say.
The mic and system and everything there, apart from the hard drive.
That's what we're talking about.
If you just for example hard drive, then we had deal with the company that they will provide us if needed. But otherwise, we were more than happy with the cloud system because there's a more safety for us, more for drivers.
So just let me just get this right, because obviously Zamir brought it up as well. So I think it just for my brain, just give this to me. So you have to have microphones, cameras, hard drive, signage. Yeah. Okay.
And it has to connect to the vehicle, so on and off when the vehicle's on and off.
Okay. Listen, it's definitely an interesting topic, I'll be honest with you, and I appreciate everybody's opinions. I think it's really important to remember that. But
we should respect each other, and we should look. The drivers was not happy, and we didn't lobby for it.
Yes,
which is fine. We're optional. We do by ourselves. So at the start, we planned that we're gonna full lobby for it. Then we understand that because the council's guidelines were not very clear. So we back off. We say it's optional. We do at our end, and that's it. But the point is, some people just have to jump in for no reasons.
Well, I mean, look, everyone, that's because everybody has a vested interest. Whether you're interested, that interest can be anything. It could be based on safety. It could be based on cost. It could be based on fairness. And I think that's the one thing that I've learned in this process, whether it's from Zamir or the association or yourself and Ishi and other people I've spoken to, is how unfair it was that Peterborough was being singled out when none of its neighbours were being asked to do this. Neighbours could have then driven into Peterborough without any cameras, done what they wanted to do.
That was a disadvantage to the drivers.
And then on top of that, you have the situation where how expensive it is to become a taxi driver. So I had Ali Haider, I think his name was. Forgive me if you're listening, Ali Haider, and he articulated the cost of how expensive, and Brother Nawab, how expensive it is to become a taxi driver in the first place. We were looking at almost including a decent car, £30,000, right? And then you've got your £400 to £800 system to put in there, and then it's a bit of a mess. I think this is because it hasn't been voted in. This gives all parties now, including the council and the drivers and the organisations, to have a little bit of a respite, take a deep breath, but then work together on how it should be.
Yeah, of course, that should be like. Yeah. There's always need to improve things. It's not that something happened, it has to be improved. Maybe the way they build up the system, in their minds, maybe they start working it 2 years ago, and the things a lot change.
Yeah.
So it's a time for them, for council, for drivers, for operators to just look it around. What's the best way to do it? The CCTV should be there, but it should be affordable for the drivers, and there should be no, like you were saying, with council say we want to have a 30 days recording in our end, and then it does just make another nonsense.
Yeah.
And recording CCTV needs for the incidents, accidents, and stuff like that. It's not for the watching for somebody for how long he's working. What
Yeah, I mean, that's just troubling. Why would they need that much
But
data?
if I have an accident 24 hours, I can request it.
Yeah.
I don't need 30 days back video. That footage can be stay as long as you want.
I think they were trying to say because if someone complains or puts in a complaint, say 2 weeks time,
Yeah, so
3 weeks time,
yeah.
then for some reason you need to have like 30 days worth.
Okay, so let me explain that to you, because I used to work in the electronic security industry, and at that time, as an organisation, if you had cameras, you had to keep your data for 6 months. Okay, and you had to store it elsewhere just because of what you've just described. And some organisation, it was 3 months, so that you could go back in time and find something. So I think they were trying to marry that legislation together. So that actually makes more sense. Can you believe it?
It makes sense, but it wasn't good for the drivers.
It's not good for the drivers. No, I totally agree with you.
Because driving the cars are running cars, like so.
Yes, that's right.
Come in the 5 minutes and drop the customer, so you don't need to have that long data. If you have a complaint, you can do complaint within 2 minutes.
Correct. No, I understand.
You don't have to wait for 2 weeks to complain. If you complain at that point, automatically you can get your footage.
I agree, and that's towards the end of the show now. Ishfaq has gone so quickly. Bilal, thank you for sharing your insights. This is an issue that clearly has far-reaching implications for safety, trust, and how we balance public interest and individual rights. And that's all we've got time for on Let's Talk. Thank you to everyone who tuned in, and to our guest Bilal Nasser for joining us. As always, we encourage you to continue with the conversation and share your thoughts. From myself and